Welcome back to Lessons from the Fall. Up until now, this podcast has been a journey. We've gone through the fall. We've unpacked the mindset. We've spoken about ego, pressure, decisions. We've gone into lending, deals and relationship. But today, I want to step away from the structure for a moment and speak more openly. Because when you strip everything back, business isn't about lending or deals or growth. It's about the people. It's about decisions. It's about lessons. Some of those lessons you'll learn slowly. Some you'll learn painfully. And some you only understand once it's too late. What I want to do today is share those lessons. Not as advice from a position of perfection, but from experience. From getting things wrong, from rebuilding, from losing perspective, and finding it again. Because if you're in business right now, whether you're starting, scaling, or struggling, these are the things that actually matter. Failure is the only honest teacher. Let me start with something that took me a long time to accept. Failure is the only honest teacher in business. Success is selective. It shows you what worked, but it hides why. It hides the risk you didn't see. It hides the mistakes you got away with. It hides the gaps in your thinking. Failure doesn't hide anything. Failure exposes everything. It forces you to look at the decision you made, the assumptions you relied on, the risk you ignored, the people you trusted, and the parts of yourself you didn't understand yet. And that's uncomfortable because failure removes the narrative. You can't spin it, you can't dress it up, you can't explain it away, at least not to yourself. And when you sit with that long enough, something shifts. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And you start asking, what did I miss? That question alone changes everything because now you're not reacting emotionally, you're learning structurally. And that's when failure becomes valuable. Not because it feels good, but because it gives you the clarity that success never will. Success is subtle, and that's why it's dangerous. Now let's talk about the other side, success. Because success is where most people lose discipline, not failure, success. Success is quiet in the way it builds confidence. At first it feels earned, then it feels repeatable, then it starts to feel expected. And that's where it becomes dangerous because expectations create assumptions. You start assuming this will keep working. I understand this now. I can push this further. And without realizing it, you stop questioning, you stop checking, you stop being curious. And that's when small risks become big ones, not intentionally, but gradually. This is something I had to learn the hard way. Success isn't the moment you relax. It's the moment you double down on discipline because success gives you room to make mistakes. And if you're not aware of that, those mistakes compound. One of the most confronting lessons in business is this. Your business is a reflection of you, not the version of the present. The version you actually are. If you avoid problems, your business will have unresolved issues. If you rush decisions, your business will feel unstable. If you lack structure, your outcomes will be inconsistent. And the opposite is true. When you become more disciplined, your business becomes clearer. When you become more structured, your results become predictable. When you take accountability, your reputation strengthens. There's no separation. You can't operate one way personally and expect your business to operate differently. That's why personal growth is not optional in business. It's fundamental because every decision you make is filtered through your thinking. And if your thinking is flawed, your decisions will be too. Now, something else before I forget. Family changes the way you see everything. And this is a layer that we don't speak about enough, the family side. Because business on its own can be consuming. It becomes your identity, your focus, your priority. But when you experience loss or when you build a family of your own, something changes. You start to see things differently. Time feels different. Decisions feel harder and heavier. The way you measure success shifts because it's no longer about growth. It's about balance. It's about presence. And it's also about legacy. And the legacy isn't what you build in business. It's what you build in people. That perspective changes how you operate. Because now you're not just chasing outcomes, you're thinking about the impact. Modern business, more noise, less clarity. 100%. Business today is harder in a different way. Not because opportunities don't exist, but because there is too much noise. Social media has changed perception. Everyone looks successful. Everyone looks like they're growing. Everyone looks like they've figured it out. But most of that, it isn't real. What you don't see is the presence behind the scenes, the pressure behind the scenes, the financial stresses behind the scenes, the uncertainty behind the scenes, the decisions people are struggling with behind the scenes. And that creates a problem because now you're not just running a business, you're comparing it. And comparison creates pressures. Those pressures lead to speed. Speed leads to mistakes. And suddenly you're making decisions not based on your business, but based on someone else's image. That's a dangerous place to operate from because clarity gets replaced with urgency. And urgency without structure creates the risk. So what actually matters in business? Good question. After everything, the fall, the rebuild, the experience, what matters becomes very clear. Not everything, just a few things. Cash flow, structure, reputation, and decision making. Cash flow keeps you alive. Structure keeps you stable. Reputation keeps you trusted. And decision determines everything. You can have opportunity without structure and lose it. You can have growth without cash flow and it collapses. You can have success without discipline and destroy it. That's the reality. Business isn't complicated, but it requires consistency, and consistency requires discipline. So let's go through some scenarios. Let's introduce something I want to build into this podcast moving forward. Real scenarios. Because business isn't theory, it's decisions made under pressure. So let's think of a scenario. Let me tell you about one. We were presented with an opportunity that could significantly grow my business. But something about it doesn't sit right with me, with my general manager, with my lawyers, with my accountants. And most importantly, it didn't sit right with my wife. But there's no clear issue, just uncertainty. Do we move forward or do we stop? For me today, I stopped. Not because I'm hesitant, but because I've learnt that uncertainty is often a signal, and ignoring signals leads to consequences. Here's another scenario. Our business is growing quickly. Revenue is increasing, but internally things feel disorganised. Do you keep pushing growth or do you pause? The old version of me pushes. The current version of me pauses. Because growth without structure doesn't last. Finally, another scenario. A client needs funding urgently. The deal works, but it carries risk. Do you approve it or do you walk away? The answer is simple. But what matter is this? Do you understand the risk? Is the exit clear? Is the outcome responsible? Because saying yes is easy. Saying the right yes is what matters. Business will teach you whether you're ready or not. It will expose you. It will challenge you. It will force you to grow, but only if you're willing to learn. If you ignore the lessons, you repeat them. If you accept them, you evolve. And that's the difference in business. Because in the next episode, we're going to go deeper into scenarios, real decisions, real pressure, real outcomes. This is Lessons from the Fall, and now we're not just telling stories, we're building understanding. Thanks guys, speak soon.